This is the headline of the author, okay? Matt Vespa, not me. But before I get myself into trouble, let me just note that does not mean the white college-educated women listening to my broadcasts. Because clearly, if they fell into this demographic, they wouldn't be listening to my program. Also, my largest demographic is women age 50 to 65. That's my largest demographic and has been for years. Now, one has to ask a couple questions here, maybe more than a couple. First of all, if we have so many white educated college women that have gone insane, meaning they have embraced fully cultural Marxism, they have embraced, let me give you another word, they have embraced feminism, anti-family, anti-father. They say, well, I'm not against the family, they say. I have children. Many of them, whether they're married or not, they don't really have a lot of love for men. And I wonder why. Because they've been told marriage is slavery, right? Hang with me, folks. I got facts. I'm bringing the receipts. I've got quotes by well-known leading feminists. Some of them are married, but they don't treat their husbands like they really love marriage or their husband, because they've been lied to and told that they're being done wrong, that marriage is an institution that was created by white Anglo-Saxon men to enslave women and really to treat them like slaves. But then you have a lot of women who are not married or who were married or are not now that have also bought this lie. And this is the destruction of the family. So yes, many of them have been brainwashed into anti-family values by the feminists who, by documented facts, many of them were Marxist. Remember that? Betty Friedan, a Marxist. She kind of wrote the manifesto on feminism, right? And Marxists don't like the family. Remember the group Black Lives Matter? They had on their website, and I have a screenshot of it because they later took it down. Their goal was the destruction of the nuclear family. What? Why would you do that? Because they know that the family, whether they know it instinctively or not, they know the family is a powerful tool for the bourgeoisie. The middle class family is a powerful institution for passing on the values of the property owners, the bourgeoisie. And we're told, by the way, that who should be on their side are the workers, the proletariat, the workers who are being enslaved by the property owners. Well, here's kind of an ironic thing. Many of these women who are white, college educated, would fit into the demographic of the bourgeoisie, right? And they're embracing full-on Marxism. But many of the workers, blue-collar workers, who should be part of the proletariat, pro-Marxist agenda, are not. Many, what we call blue-collar workers. By the way, many of your millionaires historically have come out of businesses that offered services that were considered service-oriented or blue-collar jobs or companies. And many of their owners started out just themselves, maybe one or two other people, built it up, went into management as an owner because now they had to manage this large business they built up. But many of them found themselves still on the job sites routinely. So that's one reason why many of the blue-collar workers have turned against Marxism or never embraced it. They saw what hard work gets you. Hard work pays off. You know, the Bible says, put your hand to a plow and gain wealth over the course of time. Over the course of time. And many service-oriented workers have a real work ethic, and they see the benefits of putting their hand to the plow day in, day out, managing their money well, conserving their money, and that they do indeed get ahead. So sadly, the Marxists have not, listen to what I'm telling you, the Marxists have not been able to make a lot of headway with the workers, what they would call the proletariat. So they've actually had to go into the homes of the bourgeoisie, the middle upper class, and they've had to mentally hijack them, particularly the women, as a way to destroy the institution of family, which is the incubator for creating more families that embrace traditional Judeo-Christian values. That's the underpinning of our constitutional republic, which is what the Marxists hate. Remember Karl Marx, one of his objectives was what? Community wives. Yeah. So how ironic that the Marxists cannot get their message to penetrate with today's workers, a lot of them. Because the workers know that if I work hard, if I offer a good service, a good product, my company will grow, my business will grow. Or if I work hard for the guy that owns the business stays afloat and I keep getting paid. And not only that, I might get a raise. I get raises with inflation, hopefully. I might even get promoted in management. They see how the system is not evil. Now, there is no perfect system, and the free market system isn't perfect, but it's the best system that benefits the most people. Why is there no perfect system? Because of something the Marxists always leave out: the fallen nature of man, original sin. Because they don't believe in original sin. They believe man is simply a product of his environment. And if we just give them enough money, enough material wealth, enough material resources, crime will end. Really, how's that worked out since the Great Society of Lyndon Baines Johnson? The socialism of FDR. We've given away billions and billions. We're probably into the trillions. Do we have less crime? Do we have a better moral, stable society? See, the Marxist, the naturalist, the materialist denies original sin. They believe we just set the right environment, we'll have heaven on earth. Well, that's a lie. And the reality is, the free market system is the best system, even though we live in a sinful, fallen world. And that's one reason why it isn't perfect, because we live in a sinful, fallen world and man has a sinful state, heart. Are there so-called capitalist or free market people that cheat people? Yes, there are. But when you start cheating people, you're really no longer working in the free market system. And do we have a lot of corporations that are people point to and say, well, look at how the free market system exploits people? That's not really a free market system. You start looking around at the company and you find out they didn't get there by the free market. They got there by the free handout. But it's not really a free handout because that handout costs someone something. It costs us, the taxpayer, goods and services that the government should be giving to us based on our taxes, which is what? Security and protection. We should be paying taxes in some form, I guess. I mean, I'd rather do it in a consumption way or sales tax way, not federal income tax. I think that's wrong. I'm not for property tax, but some kind of tax, reasonable tax that provides for your police and police cars and all the things that go with security and protection. But what do we get? Do we get more police, better paid police, fighting crime? No. We get what? Redistribution of wealth. And when you look at the redistribution of wealth, what do we find? It's going to a lot of corporations. Think USAID, right? NGOs. A lot of what we point to, or what people point to and say, that's the free market system. That's not the free market system. That's corporate fascism. That's big government, big business merging together, raping the taxpayer, taking from one, which is not rightfully theirs, to give to these big corporations, which they don't deserve. So be careful when people point to the ills of the so-called free market system and say, you think that's fair? You think that's right? This is a good system. That's not free market. National Public Radio getting 500 and National Public TV getting $500 million a year. That is not free market. Reuters, all these other so-called news outlets getting government money through USAID. That is not free market. That's corporate fascism. That's communitarianism. Big government, big business merging. So people, when they actually carry out a free market principle business and they protect their reputation, do a good job, work hard, they find they have more work than they can handle. I have many of my friends that are self-employed, run their companies, and I often, when I talk to them, how's business? I've got jobs booked into next year. Why? Because, in part, they have a very good reputation for quality work and honest people, being honest people, right? A good name is rather to be chosen than great riches. So the free market system is not perfect, but they will tell you that it is slavery. Well, the guys that are, and the gals, and mostly men, that are in the trades, they're the workers, many of them who are not college educated, they don't have college degrees, which is nothing wrong with that. They don't buy this lie. But the ones that are buying it are the white college educated women. I'm going to go to that poll after the break. Now, maybe one reason they buy that is because they actually went to college where they were brainwashed, where they were told lies upon lies about our system. Isn't that where we lose most of our kids? Even in the evangelical Christian community, you know, we've been doing Worldview weekends since February of 1993. Countless parents would come to these and say, I wish you had been holding these Worldview weekends when our kids were in college. Because our kids went off to college and now they are absolute liberal Marxist. They disdain the values of our family. They disdain the values of my husband and I, or my wife and I, depending on which of the spouses I was talking to. I wish your Worldview weekends had been around when they were in junior high and high school. They went off to college and we lost them. We heard that all the time. So we come back, let's get to this graph showing white college-educated women have gone totally insane. We'll be right back. We're not changing courses now. We are who we are. We're committed to the truth that we are committed to. Worldview Tube is a broadcast network that I started in 2006, but it's based on my 35 years as an author and speaker and commentator. Worldview Tube is here to defend the truth of a Christian worldview. And we believe we can apply it to all areas of life, like law, science, economics, history, family, social issues, education, religion, major issues.
At worldviewtube.com, we provide news from around the globe that isn't typically covered by mainstream media. Visit worldviewtube.com to watch our experts and analysts discuss all your favorite topics on our 24/7 live stream. Explore our extensive collection of unfiltered and uncensored content from 35 years of production. Go to worldviewtube.com today. Also find us on all of these major platforms and download our Worldview Tube mobile app.
All right, welcome back. Glad you're with us. Don't forget, we're coming to Milwaukee, April 15th. It's a Tuesday night, 6:30 Central and 9:30. It's free, but you do have to have a ticket so we can be sure to have enough seats. I guess between those who have registered online, those by phone, we're about 900 registered so far. So please continue to register, but please make sure you register everyone that's coming individually. Don't register with one form online and put in, I got 3 people showing up, here are their names. That computer system doesn't know that. You've got to go in and register each individual person. You can use the same email address over and over, but pop in the name of each individual, because then our computer system counts it 1, 2, 3, 4, however many you're bringing, all right? Then we're sure to put out enough chairs and be ready to go, and the speakers all want to know, how many people are attending? I want to ship some books or whatever. I'm like, I don't know, there's 200 showing up, and then there's 1,000 of you. Well, how did that happen? So we don't want that to happen. Okay, so worldviewtube.com/events, worldviewtube.com/events. Again, we got about 900 seats taken thus far. Keep spreading the word if you would, and let's fill it up. Our first Worldview Weekend rally in 7 years, and we're coming to the Wisconsin, great state of Wisconsin, which, by the way, I think you guys have an election coming up for Supreme Court April 1st, if I remember correctly. So I would urge all of you to be fully informed, do your homework on the 2 candidates, and then go do your civic duty and vote. All right? Now, worldviewtube.com/events for the tickets to the Understanding the Times Worldview Radio Rally. Now, NBC has put out this poll. White men with no degree, white men with college degree, white women no degree, white women college degree plus. Where do they stand? Listen to what even NBC News is noting in their poll.
Also see this. White women with at least a college degree, the only group of white voters that really kind of is on the left politically, aligned with progressive causes, democratic politics. Give you an example here. It's that DEI question, right here, that we asked about in our poll. We had 2 big statements we read to voters. Basically, do you want to continue DEI programs, or do you think they should be ended? And again, look at this divide here. White men, no degree, end it. White men with a degree, end it, they say. White women, no degree, end it, they say, by double digits. And then white women with a college degree, completely different by a nearly 40-point margin, they say, to continue DEI.
All right, so I want to go back to that. That's very fascinating, actually. So continuing diversity, equity, and inclusion. What's another word for DEI? Something I've been pushing on this audience for, since we did our first conference on cultural Marxism, November 1997. November 1997, our Worldview Weekend in Minneapolis at Crystal Evangelical Free Church in New Hope, Minnesota. And we did a whole session on cultural Marxism and the Frankfurt School. And I'm sure this audience probably at times over the years thought, why is he always talking cultural Marxism? And now you know. Now, cultural Marxism hides under many masking terms. Cultural Marxism, created by the Frankfurt School, came to America in 1933. Some of the most popular ones you would know would be like Herbert Marcuse, who coined the phrase, make love, not war. Their goal, their quest was to destroy a patriarchal society and replace it with a matriarchal society, destroy men. They knew they had to destroy the masculine men. By the way, apparently Tim Walz is out there saying Trump supporters couldn't handle his masculinity. He is a comedian, isn't he? He's a real jokester. But that's what they wanted to go do, is destroy masculinity, patriotism, and men. Because they knew the cultural Marxists who came here in 1933 from Germany, who had the Marxist Institute, came to be known as the Frankfurt School. They knew they could never have a cultural revolution in America if you have the types of Ronald Reagan, John Wayne, Jimmy Stewart, and these kind of guys running around. Now, why do I note those guys? Because all of them were staunch anti-communist. John Wayne, he's not perfect. Brannon Howse isn't perfect, okay? I don't agree with everything John Wayne did or was up to, but John Wayne was a staunch anti-communist. And he did a lot of patriotic TV and shows and productions, even in black and white television. And he worked with guys like Fred Schwartz, who wrote this book I have an original copy of, thanks to one of you in my audience. You Can Trust the Communist to Be Communist. And Fred ran the Christian anti-communist campaign. Notice that, the Christian anti-communist campaign. Christianity is the very antithesis of communism or Marxism. But yet today we have people that think they can merge Christianity and communism, Christianity and Marxism, for what I call Marxianity, which is why I wrote that book with that title in 2018. But I hammered the idea of cultural Marxism with you guys for years and years and years, Because I wanted you to understand that when they came here, it wasn't like, hey, we're going to overthrow your country with guns. No, we're going to penetrate education and media, till we teach your children to hate the country, till we teach the children to hate their parents, till we teach the children to hate the Bible, till we teach the children to hate Christianity, till we teach the children to hate traditional values and to participate in all forms of sexual perversion by which we can destroy their conscience. And once we have destroyed their conscience, made them feel so thoroughly guilty that they're no longer accepted by those they feel that are Christians or hold to Christian values, that makes them therefore isolated. And who do they collect up with? Those who have done those things. You understand that, right? One reason the left, whether they know it or not, demonically inspired, gets children to engage in sexual perversion is that it isolates the children or the young adult, the teenager, the college student. It isolates them from their parents, their grandparents. They feel so guilty. They feel like their parents or grandparents can read their mind. They feel so guilty about what they've done because the moral law, their conscience, con means with, science means knowledge, they offended a holy and just God, and they know it. Their conscience bears witness. Romans 1, Romans 2, Romans 3. Now they don't feel comfortable being around their mom and dad, who are traditional conservatives, maybe Christians. They don't feel comfortable being around their grandparents. They begin to isolate and isolate more. Many times they may just isolate to their own bedroom. Then when they can drive, they isolate at their friend's house or somewhere else. Then they go to college. Maybe some of this begins when they get to college. And then all of a sudden, they're not coming home anymore. They started out the first semester, they wanted to come home, get their clothes washed, have a good meal, be around their parents, have family movie night, whatever. Not anymore. They don't want to come around anymore. This is a tactic. Get them to do things they feel bad about, and then that will cause them to become committed to the group who have participated in the same behavior. Did you know this went on in Nazi Germany? I have detailed this, along with others, how the Nazis, particularly the SS, would have these young men, some of them who had come from traditional families, carry out horrific things, do horrific, immoral things that were opposed to the Nazi ideology. They would have them do horrible things so as to break their conscience, maybe sear their conscience, certainly damage their conscience, but also so they no longer felt they could go back. They can never go back. We can never go back. Have you ever heard that phrase? I couldn't tell you a movie particularly where that phrase is used, but I know I have seen movies where a character does something and they turn to someone and say, we can never go back. We can never go back. Why? We have crossed the line. We've crossed the line. We know it. We will never be able to go back to where we were. You'll never be able to go back home. You might physically be able to go back home. Spiritually, morally, collectively, you'll never be able to go back home and fit in. That's how they feel. That's what they're told. That's what they did with the Nazis, to break them away from that home base. So they go off to college and they're involved in, as the Frankfurt School, well, Herbert Marcuse wrote the book Ethos, or Eros, about sexual freedom. He's the one, again, that coined the phrase, make love, not war. They go off to college and they start doing things they shouldn't be doing. Some of them may be getting into drinking and drugs, and now some of them have maybe been taken advantage of, and the stories. Some simply have come from broken homes, and they have a hatred toward either their father or their mother or both, and then they get to college, and now they're told about the evils of their parents. and how marriage is really an enslavement and an institution created by white Christian men to enslave women and take advantage of women. And they're told all these lies. Men and women are told this. But apparently it really sticks with the white educated college woman, according to NBC News even. And they don't want to end. 68% do not want to end DEI. Now, what's another word for DEI? Another word for DEI is cultural Marxism. What is cultural Marxism? Cultural Marxism is applying the philosophies or the ideas of Karl Marx to all areas of life. Cultural Marxism is going in and saying we're going to have a revolution when it comes to the values. Herbert Marcuse said it. The old way of revolution is old-fashioned. The new way is a diffused and dispersed disintegration of the system. Cultural Marxism is the destruction of the American system. The Weather Underground called it prairie fire. Bill Ayers, burn down the American plantation. Burn it down to the ground. Joe Biden, build back better. You gotta tear it down to build it back. What are we tearing down? We're tearing down the institutions God created. Family. What is a family? The definition of a family. What constitutes a family? We attack and go after families like in Illinois, where they're working on a law to go after homeschoolers and ensnare them and make them come and answer to the white educated Marxist female bureaucrat at the local school who hates Christians and hates the family, hates morality. They want her now lording over a nice Christian family. Destroy the family. Destroy the church. Ridicule the church, mock the church, degrade the church, mock God, make perverted jokes about God, the Bible, Christians. Make religion, biblical Christianity, traditional values to be square, nerdy. Losers follow that. Organized religion is for a group of losers. Isn't that what the former governor of Minnesota said years ago? Organized religion is a crutch for weak-minded Christians. Jesse Ventura said that. Go after the family, go after the church. These are institutions created by God that are to do what? Form our government. What was created first? Family government, right? Family government. Families created. Before you have civil government, you have to have families. What is civil government? Just a group of families coming together to defend individual liberty. You want a corrupt government? Corrupt family values that then turn on the family. We'll be right back. Hello, I'm Brannon Howse. Is the government tracking you? Do they have access to all your data? Well, if you go to worldviewtalk.com, you'll find out about a cell phone company that, well, does not store your data. They don't do that. This is what they're known for. They don't store your data. You have privacy. You're not being tracked. That's why a lot of folks are turning to worldviewtalk.com. You'll find their prices are very competitive. All the details are there at worldviewtalk.com. Again, worldviewtalk.com. Oh, while you're there, not only do they have cell phones that aren't tracking you, you can find out about how to get a satellite phone. Should the whole system go down and you want to communicate with a family member or a loved one, you might want to have a satellite phone. Or how about their solar generators? They have great solar generators. Check them all out right now. Worldviewtalk.com. Worldviewtalk.com. All right. So if you want to create a government that will go against our constitutional republic, remember what was a republic? William Blackstone, the leading scholar, one of the leading scholars for the founders, said what the divines ruled on, we don't rule against. That's what makes us a constitutional republic. Well, if you want to destroy that, then you create individuals and you create families that are hostile to the Christian worldview, the underpinning of our constitutional republic. Then your people in your own country will destroy the very foundation of your government. That's why Khrushchev told the Secretary of Agriculture in the Kennedy administration, Benson, your children are going to fall over into our hands like overripe fruit. Because we're going to penetrate your education, penetrate your media, until your own children and grandchildren hate you, hate your institutions, hate patriotism, hate the Christian values of your nation. And then when they realize the foundation of their nation, a Judeo-Christian worldview, is the foundation, they'll have such a cognitive dissonance internally that they can't stand being Americans. They can't stand America. They can't deal with this conflict between their values and what their country or government stands for. So they'll have a revolution inside their own country. That was the goal of the cultural Marxist. A diffused and dispersed disintegration of the system. You can call it DEI. You can call it white privilege. You can call it toxic masculinity. You can call it social justice. You can call it the common good. You call it whatever you want. All of this is cultural Marxism. So here we have NBC saying 68% of white, educated, college women do not want to end diversity, equity, and inclusion. They want cultural Marxism. Diversity. What is that? Diversity is perversity. Diversity is perversity. It's like, whatever. We need to be diverse. We need to have queers, straights, drags, transgender. There needs to be lots of diversity. Multiculturalism. What is multiculturalism? It is not the study of multiple cultures. It is a denigration of the foundational Western worldview, the Judeo-Christian worldview. Equity. Equity. Everybody gets equity. Really? This would be like you breaking your back to start a business and doing without as the business owner who's putting their capital into the business, doing without for years, driving a used car, one you keep running because you don't want to go buy a new car because you're using your capital to build the business. You take a very basic minimum salary so you can make your bills, pay your bills. You take a very basic salary just to get by because you're dumping all of your extra income from the business into growing the business, expanding the business, advertising, hiring new people, buying equipment, building a building to house the equipment, buying a new printing press to expand your printing business, or whatever it is, construction business, carpentry, plumbing, electrical, and you scrape by, and then all of a sudden you look up 30 years later and you've built a large business. Now all of a sudden you're not scraping by anymore. You've put your hand to the plow, you've gained wealth. Now you do draw a very nice salary, and you do drive a very nice car. You scraped and you saved and you did without and you sacrificed for years, and you had to pay the government at least half of it in local, state, and federal taxes. Then along comes some kid out of college who works there a year or two and decides, I need some equity. I'm working awfully hard. I need some equity. Really? You need equity, do you? You weren't even born when I started this business. What have you sacrificed? No. This idea that everybody gets equity, gets treated equal. That doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's called socialism, and it never works. Does it work in Cuba, where the doctors get paid the same as the guys that run the sanitation trucks? Does it cause people to want to invest, to take risk, to build a business when they know they're going to have to just give it to the government and get their check in the mail from the government? No. Diversity, equity, inclusion. We got to include everybody. I'm sorry. No, I don't. I do not have to hire a transgender to work for my company. And I'm sorry. And if they show up in a regular business suit and we think they're qualified, we hire them, and the next day they show up in a dress to try to, say, well, now you have to include me. You have inclusion. No, I'm sorry. No, I don't. We have to include every idea, every worldview, or you're intolerant, you're bigoted. No, this is cultural Marxism. Call it what you want. DEI, white privilege, toxic masculinity, whatever you want. It's cultural Marxism. And the only one that benefits from this is always the people at the top. And that is what the USAID and all this other corruption has shown you. They tax the living daylights out of you guys and out of us, and they turn around and they give it to Reuters, according to multiple news reports, and NGOs, and judges are on the take with their children or themselves on the board of an NGO. They get all this money. And people are looking at it going, wow, what a successful company Reuters is. Well, you know what? We could look and be very successful too if the government wanted to give us millions of dollars. That's not the free market, as I started out the broadcast with. And that comes with a price. You're now going to be a propagandist for the government. It's theft. This is exactly what Yuri Bezmenov, who warned us in his 1984 interview with G. Edward Griffin, they would do, the communists. Demoralize, take away your morality, demoralize, destabilize, chaos, and then the new norm. The government rushes in to establish peace, order, law, protection, the new norm, a powerful socialist state. And white women, largely according to these polls by NBC, love it, and they want it. Now, how did we get here? Well, there's a few ways we got here. Let me see if I can bring up one of my PowerPoint presentations from years gone by. By the way, a lot of this I'm telling you is in my book, Grave Influence, that I wrote in 2008, came out in 2009, and you don't need to buy it. Now, if you want to buy it, it's $2. It's a hardcover book for $2. I'll bring a bunch to Milwaukee. I'll bring a bunch of Marxianity and Grave Influence, and you guys can have them for $2 a piece. I said, look, I'm happy to reprint these if we sell them for cost. So you can go to worldviewstore.com, worldviewstore.com, and you can get a copy of, well, I was going to show it to you, but I just dropped it. And if you are half the yellow lab you think you are, you would retrieve that book and bring it to me, Dolly. But anyway, I was going to hold it up, but I dropped it. The book, Grave Influence, $2. Worldviewstore.com. I don't need a retriever. I have Logan. Thank you, Logan. Dolly, will you watch what he does and learn to do this, please? If you belong to the vault, thank you, Logan. If you belong to the vault, you dress so casual today, Logan. If you belong to the vault, you can get the book for free. It's already a PDF at worldviewtube.com/vault. Worldviewtube.com/vault. Don't look at me. Dolly's laying there looking at me. Yeah, you should have done that. Worldviewtube.com/vault. It's there for free. It's there for free. So I'd like to have my kids understand this. I want to understand this more so I can do what he's doing right off the top of his head like that. Well, go read my book, Grave Influence. You can get it for $2. I'm not making any money on that. You can get it for free inside the vault. Worldviewtube.com/vault. But Betty Friedan was a feminist. And let me tell you what I wrote. Feminism is not about equal rights for women, but about the feminization of the American male, an ideology that is anti-family, anti-father, and virtually guaranteed to bring about the wholesale destruction of the family. Now, I got to hurry along because I do want to open the phone lines. So let me just kind of go to a couple quotes here. Betty Friedan was also co-founder of the National Organization of Women, one of America's, of course, most radical feminist organizations. She wrote the book Feminine Mystique, which was basically the manifesto for feminism, released in 1963. And of course, it really helped to lead to the 1970s radical feminist agenda, Marxist, socialist, anti-family, anti-father, lesbian agenda. Lesbians, many of them are Marxist feminist. They'll tell you that. Benjamin Whitaker wrote a book about it's like 7 books that messed up the world or something. He wrote, before she published The Feminine Mystique, Brannon had spent years in Marxist-inspired agitation on behalf of mistreated lower-class workers, and the abstractness of her analysis is fundamentally Marxist. She had been a Marxist since her college days at Smith in the late 1930s and early 40s. In the years after, she belonged to, worked for, and wrote positively about a string of leftist organizations and publications like the Popular Front, Federated Press, UE News, Congress of American Women, Jewish Life, that had significant communist membership or Soviet sympathies. Knowing that the call to the revolution and the feminist mystique would be damaged if it were associated with the call to revolution in the Communist Manifesto, she hid her radical past. Yeah, a lot of these women have pushed feminism because they don't want to call it what it is, in part, Marxism. Okay? The feminist agenda is simple. Brannon and her friends do not want women to find fulfillment in being wives and mothers. Here's what Phyllis Schlafly, my friend Phyllis, wrote years ago. The feminists whine endlessly, using their favorite word choice in matters of abortion, but they reject choice in gender roles. The big mama of feminist studies, Simone de Beauvoir, said, we don't believe that women should have this choice. No woman should be authorized to stay at home to raise her children, precisely because if there is such a choice, too many women will make that one, end quote. And studies have shown that some women, after they get married and have children, they decide, you know what, I'm not interested in being a feminist after all. I want to be a mother. These were the ones that weren't so indoctrinated. They clearly had enough influence with good people around them, family around them, that they weren't taking to the indoctrination, maybe a little bit. And after they pursued their career and got a job, they're like, you know what? I want to just have children. Then they have children like, I'll probably go back to work after the child's born. Child's born, they hold the child, they're like, are you kidding? I'm not going to do that. I love being a mother. I want to be at home. They can't have that choice. Too many women will make that choice. So the feminists have carried on a long-running campaign to make husbands and fathers unnecessary and irrelevant. Most divorces are instituted by or initiated by women. More women than men request, listen to this, more women than men request same-sex marriage license in Massachusetts, so that with 2 affirmative action jobs plus in vitro fertilization, they can create a so-called family without husbands or fathers. This is Phyllis Schlafly still writing. But I'm going to open up the phone lines. White, educated, college-educated women are for Marxism. 1-800-347-9829. Hello, I'm Brannon Howse. I want to thank you for all your support at www.foundation.com that helps make possible pushing out 24/7 content for free. Without your support, we'd have to put it all behind a paywall. But thanks to you and your support through our foundation, we're able to push it out for free as a broadcast service and broadcast ministry of WVW Foundation. Please consider going there and setting up an automatic monthly contribution, or go there and make an occasional contribution. If you prefer to support us through the mail, you'll find our mailing address there at wvwfoundation.com. You can also call and make your contribution over the phone by calling 901-825-0652. That's 901-825-0652. Again, all these details are available at wvwfoundation.com. Thank you for your support as we try to help people around the world understand the times through the lens of a Christian worldview. All right, welcome back. 1-800-347-9829. 1-800-347-9829. Your thoughts, your comments, your questions. We would love to hear from you. Let's see, I got to cancel this. For some reason, I can't get into my call screener. What's going on today? 1-800-347-9829. Oh, I'm in Logan's email. Let's see here. Go to Brandon's email. All right, there we go. 1-800-347-9829. 1-800-347-9829. Your thoughts, your comments, your questions today. 1-800-347-9829. Okay, I'm going to go right to the phone calls, but I want to give you one quick quote by Hillary Clinton. Here she said, articulating vintage feminism in the 1974 Harvard Educational Review, Hillary Clinton wrote disparaging about wives who are in a, quote, dependency relationship, end quote, which she said is akin to slavery and the Indian reservation system, end quote. In fact, Ruth Bader Ginsburg said in her 1977 book on sex bias in the U.S., she wrote in that, quote, all legislation based on the breadwinning husband, dependent homemaking wife pattern, end quote, must be eliminated, end quote, to reflect the equality principle. Wow. Because, quote, a scheme built upon the breadwinning husband and dependent homemaking wife concept inevitably treats the women's efforts or aspirations in the economic sector as less important than the man's, end quote. And the feminists tell you this over and over again. And many learn to hate their husbands, to hate marriage, to look at it begrudgingly. Some women don't learn this actually until later in life. They start hanging out with liberal friends, going on vacation with liberal friends. One thing my wife and I have never done, will never do, is take the man has a vacation with his friends. I don't have anyone I want to go on vacation with other than my wife and kids. I don't care if they said, we're going to go to the wealthiest, biggest, most outlandish 5-star, 10-star, 30-star resort. I'm sorry, if my wife and kids aren't going, or at least my wife, I'm not going. And there's no way I'm letting my gorgeous wife go out of town with women, because I know that a lot of these women don't have good marriages. And I don't want them influencing my wife. I'm sorry. I have been very strict about who I let my wife hang out with in my 34 years of marriage. Because I don't want the bad influences. Because there's too many of them out there. And some of these women start out great in marriage life, and then they pick the wrong friends, and their marriage goes right downhill. Let's go to the phone lines. Rick, line 1. Rick, thank you for calling in today, Rick.
Hey, hi, Brandon. I listen to you almost every day. I like what you're talking about. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and it was just wonderful growing up that way. You know, breakfast, supper, lunch she made, and it was great. Nowadays, you just don't see that.
She was a slave, Rick. She was a slave. Yeah. You liked it, but she probably hated it, right, Rick?
No, my mom loved it. She loved to be a stay-at-home mom. She didn't drive till she was 16. When I turned 16, I got my license. She got a car. I got a car. And she finally went to work when I was 16. And it was just having her home all the time, making those dinners, homemade dinners. It was just awesome. It was not all the technology. It was awesome. I loved that. It was a great way to grow up. I want to tell you, I agree with you totally.
Is your mother still alive?
No, she passed away about 5 years ago. Sweet, wonderful woman.
Did you ever did you tell her how much you appreciated her being there, making the meals, and being a mom, a full-time mom?
I did. I had a great relationship with her.
How did she respond to that, Rick?
I love her. I just, what a wonderful mom she was. Thank you for bringing up this topic.
Let me ask you, Rick.
You're totally right.
How did she respond to that, Rick?
How do I respond to what?
How did she respond? No. How did she respond when you told her how much you appreciated?
She loved it. She died 5 years ago. I'm 63, so she died when I was like 58, and it was like I was Ricky to her, even at 58. Just a loving, wonderful mom, and just into the kids and everything. Greatest mom ever. Well, of course I'm going to say that.
Of course.
But I really believe she was. Yeah.
Well, good, Rick. I'm glad you called in. Thank you, Rick. Derek, line 2 in Iowa. How you doing, Derek?
Hey, Brandon, it's been a long time.
Glad you called in.
No problem. I got a couple of things for you.
Okay.
One of them is entirely, I came across a book by Nancy Pearcey called The Toxic War of Masculinity.
Yes.
I figured entirely you would actually get into something like that.
Yep.
And
Excellent.
The other I just got recently from Dissenter, which is entirely called Pastor Arrested in Ireland for Preaching Outside, is a glimpse of the future of the American church.
Well, it is. Pastors being arrested in Ireland.
Since this is all connected, figure entirely this would be actually worthwhile for you.
Excellent. Thank you, Derek. Appreciate that.
No problem.
Pam, line 4. Thanks for calling in from Arkansas, Pam.
Hi, Brannon. I'm really you hit a chord today because I grew up with this. I came from a regular household. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. I loved it. And really that was my role model. But the culture was pushing differently. So I graduated in 76 in a little small town high school. I had this college English teacher who kind of influenced me to have a book study on and make a report on Betty Friedan. And so I did. And being a young person that didn't have a whole lot of sense, it sounded good. So, it took me a few years into college, but I never lost my love of what I remembered growing up and everything, so I couldn't even do it. I couldn't even finish my degree, actually, because I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, and I sacrificed in order to do that, and my husband did too. So,
and you don't regret it, do you?
Mm-hmm. Huh?
You don't regret the sacrifice, do you?
Oh, no, I don't regret it, but I remember feeling less than all of my married life until just recently. I was like, why am I feeling this way? And now my kids are grown and they're great. One's married and a pastor, and two are serving the Lord. They're fine. I kept them out of trouble, I guess, because I was watching what was going on. I was cooking for them. I was trying to have, my husband worked a lot because I couldn't. So he was gone maybe a little more than he probably should have, because of his job. But it worked out. And, it's the same. I'm noticing the young women now, because I'm a leader in a Bible study, they're going back to that model. And I love it. I love it.
I'm so glad you called in.
But this is needing, can I just say one more thing?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I wanted to say Satan's lie is equity.
Thank you,
He
Pam.
says it can't be fair, or, it's not fair.
Yep.
But God says there's no fairness. So God bless you.
Thank you, Pam. Thank you. A lot of these young people going back to it because they see the failed marriages of their own parents. Take care.
This has been...
I wish I could take more calls on this. David, Jerry, I guess we hit a chord today. Maybe we'll have to open the phone lines a little longer tomorrow. Again, folks, we're trying to do something here different than all the other networks. We could do a rip and read and talk about, whatever's on some news website today, and that's fine. But unless we get to the root causes of the issues of our day, all we're doing is filling time. You can talk about problems, but you have to offer up solutions. But you also have to get to the root cause of the worldview. If you're not dealing with the philosophies and the ideas, then you're not really understanding what's happening and how we got here. You're shooting at the symptoms. You're talking about the symptoms, but you're never able to get to the root cause, the foundation. And that's what we do. That's what makes us different. So if you appreciate it, we appreciate your support. Worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com. Now remember, you can get this book for $2. Hardcover, Grave Influence. So much of what I said is really in that book. You can get it for $2. Worldviewstore.com, worldviewstore.com. If you're a member of the Vault, like I said, it's automatically in there. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to buy it. It's already in there as a PDF. Worldviewtube.com/vault. I want to go back and look at that chart again from NBC News. White men, no degree. White men with no degree say end the diversity equity programs. One reason why white men are sick and tired of this? I already said many of them have gotten out into the job world, the business world, and yes, they have no degree because they went to a trade school. And I don't know why we go around. Can I just tell you what? This just came to my mind. Why do we classify people? I should write this down. Why do we classify guys that have years of experience in plumbing and electrical as no degree? Have you ever thought about that? I need to write that down, do a show on that tomorrow. Do you know how many, quote, degrees I would have? If you really looked at things logically, you would say this guy has multiple degrees based on his 35 years of work and learning and writing and studying. That's why, by the way, some institutions, they do give out honorary doctorates, because the individual has actually accomplished far more than they would if they'd gone to school and got a PhD. But why do we say that a white man who maybe went to trade school has no degree? Why do we say that? You know why? Because it propagates the lie that they're not very educated. It propagates the lie that they're not part of the elite. It propagates the lie they're not part of the club, that they didn't go to school. You need to go to school. You got to get a college degree. Really? Do you? How's that working out for all those college degree students right now? A lot of them. Have you heard that a lot of the new multimillionaires now are guys that have sold their HVAC business, their plumbing business? Yeah. Major corporations are coming in and buying up the HVAC and plumbing businesses. You go read articles on it. You'll find them. These guys have built businesses, spent years working, and a company comes in and scoops it up at a big price and consolidates it into their portfolio. Go read The Millionaire Next Door. Now, I know it's a little dated, but the original versions of The Millionaire Next Door, when it came out in like 1989 or 88, whatever it was, 90, the average millionaire was in a service-oriented business. So why is it, though, that white men with no degree are the highest degree of men against Marxism? You would think guys with no college degree would say, yeah, give me a piece of what I deserve. You know, all these white college boys with their advanced degrees. No. The white man with no college degree is more opposed to Marxism than any demographic. You know why? As I said earlier, many of them have learned you can succeed in America without a degree if you'll work hard, learn a skill, learn a trade, start your own business. They also have seen how they have been treated because they are white men, number one, but they've also seen how they've been treated because they're white men who don't fit into the club. You know, someone else that didn't fit into the club was and is Donald Trump. You see, the elite have clubs, and the clubs may be varying degrees. Oh, the white educated corporate man, the white educated college degree of this guy. Well, there's clubs all along up the ladder, right? And there's societies, and there's even secret societies. Donald Trump didn't belong to a lot of these guys' club. That's why a lot of them never liked him, ever. But certainly not when he became president. But one reason white men who have no college degree don't like this Marxism, they've been on the receiving end of being told they're too masculine, too patriotic, too greedy because they're capitalists, and they've been denied jobs because of the color of their skin, and they're sick of it. Take care.
Colonel Rob Maness has a lifelong record of providing dedicated service to this nation. Having worked his way up from the enlisted ranks to full colonel, he served our country for more than 32 years. He has served as a bomber squadron commander, bomb disposal technician,